Bouchra Belhaj Abdallah is an environmental scientist, an air pollution and food expert from Tunisia. And Bouchra is also an alumna of the European University Institute because she was a young African leader at the EU School of Transnational Governance. It's great to reconnect with Bouchra, who's joining us from Tunis to talk about some recent developments in her country and in her work. Bouchra, great to see you.
Very happy to connect with you, Roland and Andrea, and thank you for this opportunity.
Excellent to talk to you. Last time we spoke, it was still cold in Florence. I think it's now warm in Tunis, and it's also
very hot. Sweating, actually. It's very hot.
So, Bouchra, I'd like to talk to you about some recent developments in Tunisia. For example, earlier this month, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen met with President Kais Saied of Tunisia. Italian Prime Minister Meloni and Dutch PM Rutte were also there. And this meeting had the aim to improve cooperation in terms of managing flows of migrants from Tunisia to Italy. So my question to you is, how did this meeting between European leaders and the President of Tunisia go?
Well, thank you, Roland, again, and thank you for this important question. You know, I think the huge work and the major work was done by Meloni, trying to move forward a bigger vision, a new vision, an updated collaboration toward managing migration or collaborating better, because you know we used to have a bit of tension with the European Union before, right? So and then we see that European leaders understood that there is something that Kais Saied wants to deliver to the EU Commission. They need to hear him properly, closely, and this is what Meloni did. So it was in the background. This is a background work that she did, and I appreciate this the most, without, of course, touching the sovereignty, because every country in this world have, whether African or European, have the right to be sovereign, while always collaborating and receiving aid and support from other countries, right? So things can go together, right?
Yeah, so I understand from your perspective, Bouchra, that somehow the parties have come closer together on what is, of course, an extremely delicate topic, and of course we're witnessing many tragedies at sea. So a very delicate topic where the parties do not always see eye to eye. But I guess that what you're saying is that this is a step in the right direction.
Yes, definitely, because I think the European Commission and the country Tunisia are putting together an action plan by the end of this month to know what to do next, not only for migration, but also for green transition, for a faster green transition, mainly for renewable energy, for fostering the employment of youth, and to really help with what they can for the economy, right? I think one of the important things that Kais Saied has mentioned, and I share the same point of view, is that there is no one-side vision, there is no one-side collaboration, there is no one-side vision to all of these issues happening in Tunisia. There should be a similar, we need to sit at the table together and come up to the win-win, how can I say, agreement that is really benefit whether Europe or Tunisia. And this is what he wants, and what he is trying to push forward to make the leaders in Europe understand this. One of the things you spoke about, the tragedy, Roland, in November when I was in Brussels, I think it happened a very bad tragedy where while that time 27 persons have died in the sea, and then the French rescuer won't I can tell you won't rescue them. So basically migrants are forced to leave their country for war, for climate change. Now we need to move forward with a changing policy for people that are running their country because of climate change. No food, no sea, no biodiversity in the sea, so they can't do any agriculture, any type of agriculture activities in the land or in the sea. So this is a very important thing. What happened in November was unacceptable, and we didn't see anyone mentioning this, and this is a very it's alarming and intriguing, as it is a human right. We should treat everyone in respect of human rights. And one of those is to rescue people in danger, not to make fun of them in the middle of the sea. And this is what happened in November. And those people are really are African, are our neighbors, of course. And then we should not forget that people leave their country not only for economical deterioration of their of the economic deterioration. Not only for the deterioration for their economical situation, but also for climate change. Now, we don't see any data talking about how we can track those populations, how they are displaced, how many they crossed the sea, how many they want to get into the boat because of climate change. No number, right? So Tunisia can't really get this on her shoulder alone, right? On its shoulder alone.
In fact, Bouchra, in a short bit, we will talk a bit about more about the environment and climate. But before we do, I want to refer back to something you mentioned earlier in this conversation, the fact that Tunisia and Europe are also agreeing on further collaboration in the area of science. You are part of the National Research Agency as a PhD researchers. What are your expectations of this project? And I'm referring specifically to a project called SFAFI, Science with and for Youth. Tell us a bit about that.
I think Europe is our strategical partner as in Tunisia, right? Is the number one strategical partner. And then with one of the programs that Europe tried to invest in Tunisia and North Africa in general is Europe for Youth, right? EU for Youth program. It's a big umbrella having four at least projects. One of them is a SWAFI, Science with and for Youth, is dedicated to work on the first axis of the EU for Youth program, which is an inclusive youth, fostering entrepreneurship, getting into employability faster, and building capacity of youth for better employability. Right, this is it.
So, and your own research focuses actually on how the environment is contaminated, plastic pollution, and tell us a bit about this problem. How big is it? What is being done in Tunisia and other African countries to address it?
So let's start about my expertise. So let's start about microplastic itself. So it's one of the type of emergent contaminant of the environment. We talk about nanomaterial, nanoparticle, particulate matter in the air, but also we talk about organic material such as microplastic. So there are particles that are less than 0.5 micrometer in dimension as a litter in the sea or the food or agri-land. So we are ingesting those microplastic, nanoplastic every day in our food. We are breathing in the air, from the air. We are having them in the package of the tea bags as well. We are having them in the blood bags, in the placenta. So air is everywhere, and we have, of course, a huge impact on biodiversity, as animals are ingesting all those plastic, ending up in the sea and the ocean, and losing many creatures every single day. So I had a kind of shock when coming across Carrefour when I was in Florence. I've seen all of the things, all fresh food packed in plastic. I was like, why? Why? There is no policy forcing the supermarket to just pack a fresh food. It is fresh food, so it needs to be as it is. No package, no policy. Why you are so forcing people to buy those food in a pack of plastic without knowing what type of composition are they having, without knowing if they are clean or not, right? And also I've seen so in Italy, for example, people are more and more getting into buying food in plastic packaging and so on. And really, I don't understand what's behind, but I think it's a myth behind, which is stating that anything that is covered in plastic or cellophane can be safe to eat, which is not the case. It can include and unseen dangers, such as the microplastic that can be aging with the days and time, and release microplastic and nanoplastic in the food that we are eating. So basically, it's a kind of awareness. This information is not getting into consumers properly, and I think the role of organization and civil society working in this field to make impact to change the practices and the behaviors of consumers, whether in Italy or in Europe in general, or in Africa or Tunisia, right? The bad thing about this
is there. Well, I was wondering, Bouchra, are there already examples? And I'm particularly curious about what is being done in Tunisia. Maybe you have other examples for other African countries as well. What is being done to address this problem?
So just a little bit of data, Roland, before going to the policies and what has been done, we have 3 million of ton of plastic ended up every year in the environment. We have at least 23 million of ton in Europe every year, 19 million of ton in Africa, right? And 17 millions of them are mismanaged. So they are in the environment, they are ending up in the ocean and the sea, killing the animal. And so even by 2050, if we continue like we are doing now, like a business as usual model now, we will see more plastic and more plastic bags in the sea than fishes, right? And this is according to the World Wildlife Fund. It's not my word. This is what we have as data and as recent data. What has been done, I think in Tunisia now we are starting changing practices and moving to sustainable product, something that is can be used many times. We are trying to get rid of single-use plastic. There are some policies the ministry is trying to put forward, but we are confronted with a reality that is the plastic industry is one of the bigger employer in the country, or even in Africa. For many African countries, the plastic production or the plastic industry is one of the big workforce in Africa. So if you are starting a ban or something immediately, or some policy to be implemented immediately, you will definitely move people to jobless, right? You will put people with job, right? And then you will be affecting them economically, even socially, right? So I think there is a need for a balance between what is economically can be done and what is environmentally can be done. Kenya, Rwanda have been implementing policies of ban with the presence and fines. Yes, it can help moving forward with protection of the environment, but also if one of them is considering plastic as a big workforce in their country, there will be a huge economical problem, right? And this is what has been suggested before with my friend at the school when we are discussing that it is very important to not adapt always a top-down approach, and then we start a consultation with the private sectors, open rooms for suggestion and how they see the transition from plastic to more sustainable products, such as biodegradable, eco-friendly, something with plant, right? So this can't be solved from one side. It should be in consultation with the private sector and the plastic industries, I think. Yes.
Actually, Bouchra, while we're speaking, behind you, I see a palette with the words green box on it.
Yes.
To conclude this interview, I would like to ask you, if you look to the future, what is your hope for a more sustainable future in view of also the ambitions plans that are being developed to get there? What are your hopes and expectations there?
To be honest, I really see that the European Green Deal is a very, very good approach that is working in holistic. It is an holistic approach among the European countries, putting together vision and too much consultation between researchers, scientists, private sector, agriculture, pharma, simple consumers, and everyone, policy leader, policy makers, policy advisors. So I've read a lot about the European Green Deal, and I hope to see one day, the European Green Deal scalable in Tunisia at small or local context or at the African level. I think this would be very, very important to move forward with sustainable plan ambitions that Europe wants to achieve by 2050 and what we want to achieve by 2052. I think there is no enough policy so far implemented in this way, and we can see also coming back to a little bit of the plastic, now there is prediction that plastic will be tripling, whether in Europe or Africa, regarding the consumption, right? So how can this happen while we are having those policies that already put in the Green Deal? How this can be happening while we have the Sustainable Development Goal? Don't you see that there is some contradiction in the middle, right? We are in the era of a United Nations agenda that will be ending 2030, right? And then at the same time, we are seeing an increase of use and production of plastic, and also, so I think Green Deal is coming in the right time. Let's wait and see the result. But I hope, at least in terms of consultation, in terms of policy, in terms of agreement among the African countries, one day I hope to see this happening in Tunisia or in Africa as well.
Inshallah. Bouchra,
Inshallah.
I hope you're right. It was great to reconnect with you from a distance on this warm day. I've never sweated so much in this studio. It's the start of the hot season. All the best, Bouchra. And to all our viewers, thanks for joining another episode of Governance This Week. We'll be back soon.